What's up, everybody? My name is Lady Red Nails. Thank you for tuning in to Mas de la Madre, aka More Than the Mother, the podcast. It's a conversation for moms by moms. And I have the privilege of speaking to supermom Kristel David today. She is a wife, a mother, coach, and a speaker, and an entrepreneur. So, Kristel, thank you so much for being here.
Hey guys, thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh. You're like one of my favorite moms to follow on IG, and I just have a million questions. I can't wait to pick your brain. But first, can you just tell the listeners a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so as you said in the intro, I'm all the things: mom, wife, entrepreneur, coach, and I'm all about identity and really tapping into who are you, who am I, what's my purpose, like why am I actually here. So I guess I would say for me, I believe that I'm here to be people's cheerleader, to help them um, just not settle for thriving, but really survive. Not settle for surviving, but really thrive and really live a life of abundance and overflow. One of the things I take my clients through is they're looking at what is my purpose here. It's like, what is that thing that irks you? Like, what is that one problem you want to solve? And so for me, that one of the problems that I feel like I'm here to solve is people not living in abundance and not living lives that they're waking up so inspired and excited to be living and going to sleep like can't wait for tomorrow. I really want everyone to have that feeling, and so that's the work that I'm up to. If I'm not mothering or being a wife, it's creating content or events or whatever it is, collaborations to bring that vision to life.
Wow. Thank you for everything that you do. I mean, it's no easy feat to even take on such a task for oneself. So to be someone who really uplifts others and inspires and educates people on the possibility of living a life of abundance, is just like so important. And
Yeah.
so we're so grateful for what you do.
Thank you.
Um, and one of the things that I love most about what you share is that it's so transparent. You share the ups and the downs. And one of the things that you talk about is like people asking you, Kristel, how do you do it all? Right? Because with a house with 5 kids, it would seem like you don't have much time to do anything else. Right? But in the face of that question, how do you do it all, you responded by saying, I don't do it all. I have a support system. So can you talk about how empowering others empowers you?
Yeah, as you were saying thank you to me for, doing what I'm doing and pouring into other people, I'm just thinking like that's what life is really all about. I feel like that's what we're all supposed to be doing is pouring into somebody else outside of us, and that's how you lift yourself up. My mentor always says, when in doubt, focus out. And so I really think that a lot of people who are dealing with depression and anxiety and unfulfillment and lack and all of these state of minds that really take you out of abundance, if you really evaluate where your time and efforts are going, a lot of times you're isolating and you're by yourself and you're not focusing out and you're not serving other people, because serving other people is a remedy to most problems. It really is, like focusing out, being grateful and giving. And so to answer that question of empowering others, it really is what I believe is the cycle of life. I feel like, it's part of why I'm so transparent, because I learned long ago, and I believe I was born with this superpower. I've always been an open book. I've always been very transparent. And so I believe that that's my gift, to give others permission to be like that. But I've also learned to be more like that, because what we don't hold in, we doesn't have power over us. And so I've always learned that if I can just wear my mess out outwardly, then not only am I letting it not have power over me, but I'm empowering other people to be like, dang, me too. Or I have that same mess, but I'm still, or she's still doing that. So, okay, I can do it too. And so that's why I love empowering other people. And as it relates to going more specific with your question on how do I do it? And I say, I love the motto, you can have it all, but you can't do it all.
Mm.
And how cool is it that I can empower someone to cook and be in her passion, and this is her gift, because I can cook but I don't enjoy it. When I'm cooking, I'm not like, oh my god, let me like throw a dash of this and a dash of love. I'm like, fuck, like, like I don't enjoy cooking. And so it's really powerful when you create this beautiful mesh of people doing what they love. There's people like my babysitter, she loves organizing. So we've built in part of her roles is every time she's here when it's nap time, organizing one area of my house. I love an organized house. I don't want to put my time doing that. And there's people who love cleaning. There's people who love, if you look at in my business, there's so many elements of my business that I don't do, I hire out. And so it's like, yes, it's money, but that money's coming back to me because I'm in flow, because I'm doing what I'm great at, and then I'm able to generate more money to keep funding and employing other people. And so it's not only empowering because you're able to put money in other people's pockets, but it's empowering because you're allowing people to be in their gifts. And I think that's part of where magic happens in life, is when people are in their element, in their flow, and then they have more energy, they have more passion, they have more motivation to do whatever it is that they're doing. So it's like my vision of a perfect world, that everyone's doing what they love doing, and everyone's getting paid for it, and everyone has energy and time because they're doing what they love doing.
Everything you're saying, I'm like, amen, amen.
Yeah.
Right. I love it. So just to take a little bit of a step back. So the topic of this episode is actually leading by example. I think, not only as an entrepreneur and a coach to your clients, as a mother of 5 young ladies, a lot of what you do is probably watched with magnifying glasses, and then reflected in these young ladies. So, in the conversations that you have with women that you're coaching around identity and self-empowerment, does that conversation differ at all when you speak to young ladies or even to your girls?
Yeah, when you sent that question, I was like, wow. The first thing that comes to my mind is it was probably a year, going on 2 years ago. I saw this meme floating around on social media, and it said something along the lines of, "Don't be so busy changing the world that you neglect your own."
Mm.
And that was a huge wake up call for me, because I realized that here I'm doing women's work and I'm empowering women, and I even take my clients through this discovery of going back to their inner little girl. And I'm actually working on a whole workshop around getting adults to tap into their inner child and to unlock their superpowers. And I had this moment where I realized I'm not even doing this with my own kids, like, because I did have this mindset where it was like, oh, they're just my kids, like when they grow up then whatever. And it's like, that's actually the exact thinking that I believe has us in the predicaments that we're in, because as children, we're shut down, we're told to be quiet, we're told you're not an adult, don't worry about it, don't, let me deal that, I'm the adult. We're told to shut down our emotions, we're told to be careful. There's so many things that as parents we don't even realize we're doing it, but we're doing it. And so a huge part of my consciousness in the last 2 years has become around what kind of parent I'm being. And it's funny because it's not, this part's not funny, but it's caused a lot of strife in my marriage. It's caused a lot. It's the one thing that me and my husband argue about. He thinks I'm turning into this like hippie that doesn't discipline my kids, but the thing is I'm trying to undo the habits that I've created, that I learned growing up and that I learned from society, that I actually don't believe serve our children. And so to answer your question, yes, the dialogue is the same, but it hasn't always been that way. And so now I'm realizing, and I naturally gravitate to work with adults. So it is a challenge for me to work with children. I don't have the same language. I'm not as patient. I haven't learned completely to turn my work into being appropriate for kids. Like I've done my vision boards with my kids, but it took me longer because I was like, oh, okay, I have to explain this different. And they like, have to come down to their level. So it's all in progress. And I love that you asked that, because I'm so grateful that God woke me up to that realization that it starts with these 5 queens that I've created and that he's put me in charge of. And I think that as parents, I'm guilty of this. I don't know if every parent is doing this. I know not everyone, but I can speak for myself and for anyone who needs to hear this, that we do treat our kids like they're just these little people and they don't have a voice until they grow up. And that's, I think, what actually shuts kids down, to where then when they're adults, they don't have confidence, they don't trust themselves, they don't believe that they're worthy, they don't think they're enough, they have these inner dialogues of fear, and I don't want to get hurt and I don't want to mess up, because as kids they can't mess up. We get mad at them when they make mistakes, we shut them down, we try to protect them. So why I love that question, and I'll wrap it here, is actually it's opened up a lot of what I'm doing in my work, and like it's where I'm studying, it's where I'm recreating my programs and my modules and my systems and my frameworks to really tap into how can I cultivate this in my own children, and how can I bring this out of the adults that I'm working with, because children are ideal. Like that state of being is so ideal and so precious.
Absolutely. I mean, the bold self-expression and just the lack of constraint that kids have is often what we are re-seeking at as we are adults, because like you said, as kids, we're told be quiet, be careful, whatever. That's scary, and all those things, whether we realize it or not, are locked in our subconscious and cause these filters in our lives. And, I think for some parents and mothers, you don't even really realize that you're repeating these limitations that were placed on you, and you're not doing it to be harmful, but, it happens. And so unlearning is just as important as learning.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I would recommend the book, The Conscious Parent, for any parents who are listening. That was the book that I read about 2+ years ago that really woke me up to realizing, oh, I don't want to parent like this. And and to your point, I didn't even realize I was parenting like that. So that book is really enlightening. I love it. So it's The Conscious Parent by Shefali Tasbury. I don't know, Tasabary.
For
And
sure.
she's a doctor, so Dr. Shefali.
Okay. I'll definitely put a link in for any parent that wants to find that book. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And so on the topic of like books and things that you've done, that you're doing to, I guess you could call it, better yourself, just like training and developing yourself, not only as a woman, but as a mother. You shared recently about how much you've invested into yourself. And, some people might not have the monetary means to do all of that, but for you, was investing in yourself something you always did, or was there something that happened that kind of woke you up to like, okay, I want to go in a different direction?
Yeah. I've always been an eager learner. I've always loved learning. I actually did this, like, it's kind of like a personality quiz, but it was like testing your, now I don't even know what it was called, but it was like, are you a learner? Are you a teacher? Are you a explorer? Like, it was all these different things. And I was a learner and a teacher. Like, I've always been like the type of person that loves to, like, I could come home from a conference and regurgitate the whole conference to my husband, like, oh, and then and so I've always been like that. But where I was shocked to calculate that amount of money that I've spent, because that has only been in the past I think some of it went beyond the last 3 to 5 years, but most of it was in the last, like, 5 years, and it came from when I started working with my mentor, and I started, what I've been most fascinated in lately is how much I just posted the other day, I posted the quote, "The more I learn, the less I know," and I think that's why it was like this ripple effect of investing in myself, because every time I would attend a conference or read a book or work with a mentor, I would be awakened to something else that would then be, it was like crack. And I just got addicted. I am addicted to what's next? What's the next level of me? And how much more can I learn? How much more can I grow? How much more can I explore? And so it just became this obsession. I mean, I remember there was one point where my husband was like, like, what are you trying to fix? Like, what else do you need? How much more self-development can you get? And the beautiful question is I don't believe you can ever get too much self-development, because every time you develop, you're at a new place, and there's a new level. You're like an onion, like there's a new layer of you. And so I think I'll forever be on the quest of learning from other people and diving deeper into concepts of the mind, and how you can master your mind, really, because 90% of our being is in our mind. It's in our subconscious. And so the more I learn that, the more I'm learning these modalities and tools and things to reverse the crap, like you said. And I, like, for example, I did some energy healing. I'd never been open to that. Being a Christian-based woman, when I first heard of it, I was like, "Oh no, we don't do that." And then I got open to it, and what one of the things that she cleared in me came from 17 generations back.
Yeah.
And so it's like, when you look at layers on layers on layers of generation on generation of generation being passed down to the way we show up in the world, it's fascinating to be the person who gets to wake up and reverse that. So it's been a ripple effect of just diving into that.
Wow. That's exciting.
Yeah, it is, which is why I started my membership, because to your point that people don't have access to the money, that's what I realized. I'm like, God put me, I was in a position where I had access to the money to invest, and I know that not everyone does. And so being able to bring all these pieces to one place for, like, nothing compared to what it cost me to learn about those things. Like, most people don't even know that half this stuff I'm doing exists. So
Hmm.
to be able to bring it to the table and bring the last 5-10 years of everything I've like paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for, it's incredible to see people wake up to, like, oh my God, I never even knew. And these small little shifts can literally change your life.
Switching gears a little bit, talking specifically about being a mommy. With 5 young ladies, I mean, I can't even wrap my head around that. I have an 8-month-old, and I'm like exhausted by 7 p.m. every day. But with your girls, in what ways do they challenge you, and what do you learn from those challenges?
Yeah. So by the way, I always tell people, it's, I believe, harder to have one than it is to have more than one. So
Mm.
because you're the one person that's, my kids have a sister to keep them company and play with each other and do things. So I always commend, and my hardest transition in motherhood was my first.
Mm.
After that, I haven't experienced a harder transition from going from no kids to one kid. So if that gives you any hope. But so, first of all, I feel like my kids, going back to that book, even, that's what that book is about. It's talking about how your children are literally a reflection of you and a mirror for your own healing. And I think a lot of parents, we think like, my responsibility is to shape and mold this child into the human being they're supposed to be, and actually they mold us if we let it. And so especially since reading that book and being awakened to that concept of thinking, I'm constantly when I'm triggered by a child, asking what needs to heal inside of me. Like, why did that trigger me? Why did that bother me? With my oldest, for example, it's been a really incredible experience because she is old enough to have dialogue with her and context to the dialogue. And I've opened up to her, like, mommy has been a very, I don't want to say bad mom, but I have been, can I help you guys? So I've opened, as speaking of them, they're literally right here, like eyes glued to the window of my office. But I've been able to be open with her of how I didn't know I was parenting in a way that I'm not proud of. And now that I'm awake to it, you get to call me out and have grace. And so because it is a habit, it's an old habit. And one thing that I'm learning about the brain is we don't necessarily change. It's like my autopilot is going to always be my autopilot, but now that I'm conscious of it, and this is why conscious living changes your life, because now that I'm conscious of it, I can choose differently before I choose the autopilot.
Right.
And so what's beautiful about it is they're challenging me because I'm able to tell them, this is what I'm working on. I'm working on not being on my phone at certain times, or I'm working on not yelling at you in reaction. I'm working on talking instead of yelling. I'm working on not getting mad at certain things. I'm working on recognizing when I'm triggered and realizing it had nothing to do with you and everything to do with me, or whatever the thing is. And so they're constantly challenging me, and because they're kind of like built-in challenges, it's ongoing, it's daily, because they're constantly. And then I'm, one second. And then I'm constantly being like having to reinvent myself. So it's really cool. And then seeing myself and my daughter, like my oldest, she was the one that triggered me the most. And she would be like, you're so mean to me, you're not mean to them. And when I dug deep and I evaluated what that was, what I realized was, have you ever heard the saying, what you don't like about other people is what you don't like about yourself? And my mom used to tell me that all the time growing up, like, when you catch yourself talking crap about somebody, you better recognize you're talking about yourself. And so, yes, right. And so I would always be like, no, I'm talking about them, like them. And then it wasn't until I grew into my consciousness and I realized, oh my God. And so I realized with my oldest, the reason why she triggers me so much is because she is me. She is indecisive. She is self-doubting herself. She is insecure. She is hiding her voice. She is being afraid to, like, when, like, it would be moments where she's getting ready to play a soccer game, for example, and she's just like, well, I don't want to try a skill because what if I mess up? And I'm like, this is me, like, why, like, what, like, and I'm getting all mad, and I'm like, and I'm like getting all whatever, and then I'm like, and my husband's sitting next to me just staring at me like, that's you, that's how you show up in your life, in your business, and whatever, like, not wanting to take a risk because I want to be perfect, I don't want to mess up. And so when I see those things in her, it's showing up differently. So you don't really see yourself until you take a moment to look back and be like, oh. So for everyone listening, it's like, if you start to recognize the triggers, this is like the heart of the work I do with people, is if you were to just recognize your own triggers and start paying attention to the moments that you get mad and then why you're mad, you'll actually see that it has everything to do with you and nothing to do with that person. So anyways, that was a long-winded answer, but to say the least, my kids challenge me, and every day I'm becoming a better person because of those challenges, and I don't know if you meant challenge like I have the other challenges of like them not listening or them making messes and having laundry and dishes and fighting and all of that, but that stuff is like just compared to like the internal challenges. I think you're never going to get rid of laundry and dishes and yelling kids and fighting and all of that.
That's a normal, that's a very
that's like, I don't even notice that stuff anymore.
Right. Awesome. So what does your me time look like?
Yeah, I was thinking about this. It depends. I sacrifice me time a lot, actually. I was actually just talking to one of my fellow accountability buddy partners, and we're working on my calendar, my schedule, because I'm constantly refining my calendar so that I can do more, be more, and not sacrifice my family or myself. Because right now, for example, my youngest daughter is going to be 2 in a couple of months, and I haven't worked out since like a few months before I had her.
Mm.
Maybe a handful of times, like I go on, like I'm going to start working out, and I'll work out for a week, but I haven't worked out consistently since I had her. So it's almost 2 years. And it's like, I've sacrificed something that's very important to me for 2 years. So normally me time would look like that hour or two in the gym or working out. I love working out. I love, I love dinner with friends. I love just hanging out with my friends and just laughing, drinking wine, or just hanging out, whatever the drink is, just like having like the ambiance of cocktails and friends.
Mm-hmm.
I really do try when I'm outside of quarantine, me time looks like getting my hair done, getting my lashes done, getting my brows done, getting a facial, like all this, the hygiene, self-care, which is another area I sacrifice because I grow my business based on the money that I'm making in my business. And so when I'm wanting to scale my business and hire an assistant or hire whatever it is, then there goes my lash money or my, my weave money or whatever. So there's been a lot of sacrifice in my own hygiene, which is why it's one of my goals, because I want to be making enough that I'm hiring and I'm not giving up my own self-care stuff. But also I think the reason why it's so, I sacrifice that stuff, but at the same time, I don't feel like I'm lacking me time because I'm doing work that I love. And so even though I'm sacrificing lashes, I'm not defined by my lashes, so that doesn't feel like I'm lacking anything. So the only big thing that I feel like right now has been going by the wayside that I'm feeling is my working out. I actually want to be doing that. So I'm building that back into my calendar. But outside of that, me time just looks like when I'm creating, when my kids go to bed and my husband's still wrapping up work or playing his video game or doing whatever he's doing, and I'm just like, ooh, okay, let me check what my team worked on today, let me check these flyers, or let me look at whatever we're working on. That like feeds my soul. I love creating in my business, so I feel like I'm always being full at the same time.
Wow. Awesome. Well, I could literally talk to you for hours, but I'll wrap it up with my last question. So after 10 years of marriage, congratulations on that. That's amazing, by the way. And 5 beautiful children, would you say that you've discovered a recipe for success? Like not in the realm of perfection, like perfect life, perfect marriage, but just a recipe for how to make what you have work.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so first of all, the work that I'm doing in the world is what I feel like is my recipe for success. And by no means, this isn't a plug. This is like literally, it's why I'm teaching what I'm teaching, because I believe that the recipe for success in life, whether you're in a marriage, whether it's with your children, whether it's with yourself, your business, is having vision for where you're going and then making decisions in alignment with that. And so with me and my husband, since that's like the realm that you asked it from, with our marriage, we've always had vision. We've always checked in with what do we want, what's important to us, what are our non-negotiables, and then communication in that vision. So when I'm like, when I'm in the middle of a launch, or if I'm in the middle of a busy season where I'm traveling a lot or I'm doing something that isn't maybe ideal for my husband, it's constant communication, like checking in. And so instead of like I could give a tangible example because I was just in this last night. So how did it, his feathers are ruffled because I've been in a busy season. I'm doing 2 leadership programs right now. I was coaching that, then I have my own business plus everything else. And so he is feeling like I'm not putting us first. And so he now I'm like, what was the trigger point? But he got mad at something and made a little side comment. And I'm petty Patty. Like my alter ego is Patty because she's a perfectionist. She's petty, like all these things. And so my petty Patty came out, and this is why I teach women, I'm working on a book around this, like, know the difference between what's happening in your head and what's happening in reality.
Right.
Because the pettiness, the ego, it basically boils down to ego. So the ego was like, well, F you, like, if you're gonna make comments like that, then I could play that game. Like, I can make comments back. And that's what we did for a long time. And then when I woke up to realizing that what my ego wants to do is throw the middle finger back at you and be petty, but what love says to do, what works, what our vision is XYZ. And so I'm constantly checking in with make it. So this is the example of live with vision, and then make decisions with your time, your energy, and your money around what your vision is, because then you'll have boundaries built into that, because you will protect where your money goes, you'll protect where your time goes, and you'll protect where your energy goes. So last night's example was an example of energy. My energy could either go into being petty, or it could go into loving on him, forgiving him, being what I should be, even though I didn't feel like it. And so I had to choose where my energy went. And it's the same thing. You can choose to focus your energy on everything you don't have, on your past failures, on all these things behind you, or you can focus your energy on, okay, that didn't work, I failed, I messed up, or I don't have it. Okay, now let me focus my energy on how can I create it, where can I go. And so if you start operating from a place of vision, and then protecting your time, your energy, your money, how you spend all of those things with alignment to that vision, you will see your life transform. It will just, there's no place to go but up when you're protecting that. But I guarantee you don't have what you want because you're somewhere, you're not aligning your time, energy, and your money with what you really want.
Right.
So yeah.
So whether it's individual or in a partnership, what you're saying is when there's a common vision and there's communication around that vision, then the recipe for success is operating within the boundaries of that vision being maintained.
Yeah. 100%. And being Christ-like. I mean, at the end of the day, I just had that conversation today. I mean, because you're asking for the secrets to success, and it's like I probably have 100 of them, right?
Yeah.
Because like also and do this, but that would be my number one, because everything can fall under that umbrella. But yeah, like being Christ-like is ultimately what has kept my marriage together, which has been forgiveness, 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 forgiveness.
Mm.
And unconditional love. If you just look at the ways of being that Christ is, I don't like, obviously I know people have all kinds of different faiths. So what's cool about Christ-like qualities is if you look in from a leadership perspective, from every religion, they all go down to love
Mm-hmm.
and like unity and forgiveness and treating other people the way you want to be treated. Like those principles are renowned no matter what religion you're looking through, which is pretty cool actually. So operating from a place of love and not ego will save your life in everything, but yes, in your marriage for sure.
I always appreciate, the conversation of Christ as a Christian-based woman as well. So, that, as I mentioned, is just one of the things that I admire about you. I thank you so much for your time. Your authenticity has been so nourishing. And I hope that everyone listening has been taking notes and, catching the gems that you've been dropping. Um, and I will continue to support and follow on Instagram. I just got my I Am Love hoodie. I'm so excited. I love it so much. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hey guys, I'm Kristel David, and I am a life and success coach. I'm a dream keeper. I'm a visionary. I'm a creator. I am a mother to 5 beautiful daughters and a wife to an amazing husband. And I am more than the mother.